Today we're going to run some cables. This is the bit that I enjoy quite a bit. Let me show you what we've got. We've already done a plan so that we've got the lighting layout, we've got the 12 volt layout, we have the AC layout, and then obviously where we've got cables coming through on the roof. So we've got some 0.75 cables, some 1mm red, 1mm black singles, some 1.5mm twins, and then our 2.5 core for the AC. And then we got what we got on the roof. So we've got this twin scan strut unit for the solar. We've got one for speaker cables to go through and one for the awning. So our intention is to put the Independence EcoFlow kit on this wall here. The consumer unit will go next to it. So we've got to run all of our cables back to this point. And then we've got basically on this model, which is the E-Transit, we have a wiring loom that runs along on the driver's side. And then we have also one that runs down behind the passenger side, and then we have some cable management covers for both sides. So we're going to run all of our cables along here, and we're going to drop it down the vehicle so that they come out where we need to connect up. I just thought I'd also mention that this is an electric van, so we thought we'd better charge it up, and that is done through the front. So we've got this little indicator of charging at the front, and then we've got this special cable that we've had for a couple of years, which gives us the facility to charge through 3-phase, so fast charging. So that's most of the cabling run through. It's all going to terminate here because this is where the Independence kit is going to be fitted. And this is where our consumer unit will be fitted. And as you can see, we've got our white, which is our AC cables. And then we've got our DC cables, and we've got our lighting cables. There's a few more to add. There's more cables up here. And then the cables all run along this nice little bit of trunking work that's going to be covering all this lot over here. Another top tip is mark your cables up, because once you've fed them through and you've got a lot of cables this end, you're not going to know which ones lead to where. So we've marked up all of our cables so we know exactly what goes where. I think it's about time we also explained what we're actually doing to this vehicle. So behind the bulkhead here, we're going to be having some little pockets for storage, as well as light switches, power, etc. There's a TV going up on the back of the bulkhead, and then up the top here we've got a panel that we'll be making to go into here, and this will have an amplifier, and we'll also be having microphones as well. The main control board for the Independence kit will go up here, and then down the bottom here we've got a bench seat that will be going across here, and then the feet part will go through underneath the pod, because this will make up as a third bed. Underneath we're having a sliding tray that comes out, and there'll be a fridge freezer here, and we've got a heater come air conditioning unit, which is a portable unit from EcoFlow. And then for the main pod, which will come to about this position in the vehicle, we'll have 2 sleeping pods. So there'll be one here and there'll be one here. So 2 separate sleeping areas, which will have a divider between them, and in the middle we're going to have half of it that will slide out into the room for storage, etc., so that you can gain access when you're not actually inside. And then underneath the pod, we're going to be having a slide out table. So this bench seat will be static, and then this table will slide out so that you can sit at it. And then over this side, we'll have another slide out bench seat for a single person, toilet underneath, kitchen area on the top, and then we'll have storage in the centre as well. We'll be having a sliding tray this side, a sliding tray this side, so we can gain full access to the storage inside. You'll have the main independence kit this side, the consumer unit, and then the battery will be over the back there with space for an additional battery should it need to be upgraded. On this side, we're going to be having the gas bottle in the gas box, and then on the back door we'll be having the Joolca hot water boiler and accessories, and then there'll be storage nets throughout. And then either side of the sleeping areas, so on this side here and on this side here, we're planning on putting some pocket storage units which will go in, and then there'll obviously be lighting on the inside at the top, and USBs and power. So it's a bit hard to see exactly what it's going to look like, but it will come together quite quickly. Something else to also note is the vehicle comes with holes already in the ceiling or roof, and this is where we're going to be bringing our solar down through, and then we'll connect up to our PV connectors there. And then we've got a load of cables here which are going to go through the roof, one for the awning, no, two for the awning, and one for the speakers that are going to go up on the roof. We've now fitted the angle brackets to the solar RV panels, and we've mounted one each side on the far extent of the solar, and then these ones are set in one set either side, so that when we place them on the roof next to one another, they're not going to occupy the same space. So they're fitted on with the supplied screws. We've got two M8 clearance holes. So with this roof rack, we've got T-slots that take M8 nuts, but they're very slimline, or you can put the hex bolts up and put the nuts in from above. So we've opted to put stainless fixings in, so we've gone through with screws. So there's two fixings in each solar panel bracket, total of 8 into the T-slots. So we've got one that side, one at the front. The one in the middle we can't fit just yet because we've got to put the cables down through so that we can get to the inside. So we've got, say, 3 openings in the top, and we'll show you what we're going to do with that. So to put the PV cables through, we're using the Scanstrut cable seals, which are available in multiple diameters. We've gone for the 50mm diameter so that it covers the whole, and these we got from 12 Volt Planet. And basically they come with a blanking plug, and then you've got a 4 to 5, 5 to 6 and a 7 to 9 diameter cable grommet. These grommets have got a split in them, so it's easy to get over the cables. So if you've got factory connected cables like we've got here, all we've done is we've just split this one so that we've got the two ends, and then we've got the grommet on here that we've just clipped on. That goes into the top, and then once you've drilled your 3 holes in the roof of the vehicle, and so we're going through the factory fitted hole so we don't have to put a hole in, and we're going to put countersunk machine screws through and actually bolt it on to the roof. So that part there goes straight onto the roof, cables drop down through, then this part then slides down and screws up together, making it a nice tight water sealed fitting where you don't need to cut any cables. So that's our scan strut mounted to the roof. So we've got three M4 machine screws going through with nuts and washers on the other side. We've put a little bit of seal around it and the supplied foam washer, and then your PV cable just drops down through there, and then we've got our grommet fitted, and then that will just drop onto there, and then we'll just put the 3 screws into the top to clamp it, and we'll show you what it looks like on the inside. So that's what it looks like on the inside, and we've now got our PV cable ready to connect to the independence kit cables. So that's our 2 PV cables all wired in, and then we've also put this other twin unit, and that's got the speaker cable and the awning power and micro switch cable. That will be underneath this solar panel, which we'll pop on in a minute. So that's the solar all connected up, ready to be connected to the independence kit. So here we are at Chilli Graphics for its wrap. So this is quite an exciting day. Right, that's it dropped off. We'll come back in a couple of days and see what it's been transformed into. So it's now time to build the pod. So here's just a few of the 30 by 30 lengths. So we have a few more lengths here in the van. We've had it all marked up and cut out and drilled and tapped, which makes our job a lot easier. So then we've just got the Lego kit of finding all the pieces and putting the right bits together. So let's show you how we put it together. So this 30 by 30 extrusion that we use, it has a hole in the end which is the right size for tapping out for M8, and we use M8 fixings. Now these come with a little butterfly fixing that slides in through the top, and then it gives you these 2 little upstands. So if I show you those, so you've got these 2 little upstands, and what they do, when you put the next one onto it, it sits into the 2 ends here and here to stop it from rotating. And then all we need to do is make sure that we have these access holes drilled through so that we can take our Allen key, pop it through, and then we can do the end of the button head up and tighten it up. So I'll show you one that we're putting together now. So this one is just being tightened up, and then you'll just about see the little butterfly connectors in the top, which then hold it square, stop it from rotating. So as long as you've got all your dimensions right, it goes together quite quickly. You just got to remember which bits go in first, and don't tighten anything up until you're sure you got it in the right place. So this frame's going to come together rather quickly. So we've been busy putting the framework together today for the pod. So before I show you that, let me show you our plan and what we've actually been working from. Yes, that is the plan. So that's the pod. That's the critical bits. So this is the build so far, which makes so much easier making it outside of the vehicle. It all comes apart into sections so that we can lift it in and then bolt it all together. But it's a nice sturdy framework which gives us lots of T-slots to mount everything we need on it. We can put cable management, we can fit our drawer runners, we can fit our fascia panels. So this view here is from the actual garage area of the vehicle. So we're actually going to have 2 drawers. So there'll be one here at the bottom, and then there'll be another one halfway up. They'll be about 1200 mil wide. And then in this section here is going to be the Independence kit. And then through the square window is going to be the consumer unit. A gas bottle and boxes going over this side. And then there'll be the sleeping quarters. So that's the size of the mattress. There's two of them there. So one on that side, one on that side. There'll be storage here. And then on the other side, this part here will have a slide out wardrobe. So you can gain access to both sides of the storage whilst you're in the living quarters. And then on the other side, we will have our work surface that will slide out. We'll have our bench seat, and then we'll have our toilet. There's going to be storage in the centre for some storage boxes. The table will slide out from here, and then over this side, this is our bench seat, but that'll also have a drawer underneath it. So that will be down here, which will slide this way, and that will have the heater and aircon unit and the fridge freezer. And then that space around here, so this space here will be the space to put the storage batteries, and we've hopefully left enough space so that we can get two batteries in there should we need to expand. And then obviously the feet from this bench seat, which makes into another bed, this is where your feet will be, and you'll also be able to access your consumer unit whilst you're in the cab, should you need to. We haven't made the top part yet, which goes up over the top, and then there's obviously going to be fascias and everything to go with it. But yeah, it's quite a construction. So up on top of the roof rack, we wanted a spare wheel holder. We couldn't get anything that would fit how we wanted to mount it. So what we did, we made this little custom unit up. So this is going to go across the crossbars. So we'll have one crossbar here, one crossbar here. These will slide into the T slots of the crossbar, and then we'll then do up the nuts, get it in position, and then these are on 120mm pitch for the Ford Transit. And then we've got this little drop-on bar, which we've put a little bit of rubber so that it doesn't scratch the surface of the wheel. A couple of 19mm nuts on the top, so it's the same size as what you need on your wheel nuts. Yeah, so that should fit quite nicely. And all we did was just sketch it up, and just used a few stock extrusions because it's already pre-anodized, and it should last the weather. So that's our wheel holder, custom built, only took about 20 minutes, and we'll get that mounted on the roof tomorrow. To go with our Joolca hot water boiler, which is mounted on the inside of the rear door, we've gone for this new ensuite mounted single tent. Now it's a nice little compact unit. So this is it folded away. Let's show you on here. So these two arms slide out, and then you just undo it and it rolls out and gives you a bit of privacy. So that mounted on the side of the vehicle. I think we were intending on putting it on the back door, but we've changed our minds and we're actually going to put it on the other side. Yeah, Joolca, if you've not heard of them before, yeah, look them up, because it's they make some terrific stuff. and it's not that expensive. To mount it up on the back of this unit, there are 2 T-slots, and into those 2 T-slots go these angle brackets. So knock the end cap off, bolt slide through, and then you can mount the bracket either way up. And then you've got these adjustment slots, so it gives you plenty of mounting options. And say with the roof rack that we've got, these hex heads slide into the T slot, so we can then just mount it, bolt it straight on. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes to mount it up. But yeah, the Joolca ensuite mounted single tent, and we'll get that on the vehicle tomorrow. So we're back at Chilli Graphics to pick the van up, so let's go on in and see how they're doing. So we haven't got a lot of time today because we've got to take this vehicle up to an event for the Hardest Adventures, but we've still got things that need to go on it, like the rear ladder. So we're going to get this one on first and then get some more bits out the vehicle. So that's the last of the screws, and then that's the ladder fitted on the back, and that's the front runner medium rear ladder. So the next item to go up is the Joolca single tent that's going to go up onto the roof rack. So that's the Joolca single tent mounted onto the 2 cross beams. Yeah, it looks quite neat. All we've got to do is open it up and see if it reaches the ground. Alright, so almost the last bit on the roof is the wheel holder that we custom built. So 2 bolts this side, 2 bolts this side, 2 bolts for the wheel. So let's lift it on, do it up. Good use of space. All we've got to do is add the speakers, but we'll do that when we get back to the workshop. But for now, we're off to the Hardest Adventures in Shoreditch in London. So we'll see you there in a few hours.